So hello everyone and welcome to part 2 of my grant-funded project. This is my little video series here on YouTube that's chronicling a music and video project that I'm working on. I recently was the lucky recipient of a grant from the city of Fresno, and all to create a music film project. And today I wanted to show you how my music goes together with my music studio right here. So most music production these days occurs at a desk very much like this. We have a computer, desktop computer, we have a keyboard, we have appropriate software that we're working with. My system is basically like any other that you would see, with the exception of this keyboard. This keyboard is kind of a unique type of keyboard to have on a setup like this. Normally, most people work with a MIDI controller like this one, and it has not only keys but additional control surfaces over here. And from time to time I do need a keyboard more like this, and I will bring it up here and set it up and plug it in and use it for the part of the recording that I need to do that on. My music is primarily created around augmented pipe organ sounds. And what I'm doing is something that kind of goes back to, say, Pink Floyd, Robert Fripp, who started experimenting with using tape delays, echo effects, artificial reverb and things to augment their sound. And I'm applying that same idea to pipe organ sounds. Now, in reality, a pipe organ, when you get up close to it, like if you go right in the chamber where the pipes are, is actually a very noisy environment. And so it's not really practical for me to go somewhere and mic up a pipe organ and do the kinds of sound augmentation that I like to do, because all of the nice sounds coming off of those pipes will be beautifully augmented by my effects, but so will all of the action noise and the blower roar and the mechanisms that are going to town. When you're, sitting in a church or a concert hall and you're listening to a pipe organ, you're at a distance. And those noises tend to kind of fade into the background when you're listening at a distance. But when you get up close, which would need to be done for doing this. So luckily, we have digital organs these days that emulate pipe organs very, very accurately, and that's a beautiful, beautiful thing when we're trying to do interesting stuff like this. Now, this keyboard, what makes it different from the usual keyboard that you would use for doing recording, is that it's a pipe organ emulator. Now, the software, I can take the sounds of this pipe organ emulator and I can get that into the computer and I can record tracks with that. This keyboard does have MIDI, so I can also play what are known as virtual instruments. Oh, there we go. Now, what's different here from this keyboard to the MIDI controller I just showed you is the fact that while this has MIDI, the MIDI is fixed. It's really not designed to be a MIDI controller. So that's why I have the other keyboard that I employ when I need something more than just note information going in. So most music producers that use a setup like this would hate this keyboard, but I use it because it produces the sounds I want. Unfortunately, there is not a good pipe organ emulator that will work inside recording software like this. They do have some, you know, if you're somebody who does this kind of thing, you know that there are some pipe organ emulations you can get that will work within a digital audio workstation. But the one that really sounds right and really does pipe organ sounds correctly is Hotberg, and it is a computer-based pipe organ emulation, but it's not intended to work inside of a DAW like this, so I really have to use an external device and record into the software from an external device to make this all work. So using all of this to create music. So I start usually with sketching out little ideas on kind of a sketchpad type setup. If those ideas flesh out, then I write them down a little bit more elaborately on a little bit better manuscript paper. So I am kind of a pencil and paper guy. Eventually I have to create a score that, you know, looks nice, like actual proper printed music that other people can read. But once I have my sketched ideas, I can go in here and start fleshing them out by recording each of the individual layers. Now obviously this little single keyboard with just a few stops by itself is not going to sound like you know, a great big pipe organ with all of the, you know, multiple keyboards and all of that. But this organ is more than what it appears to be. Each of the stops on this organ, the sounds that it produces, there are 4 variations that I can tap into. If I hold this down, say I can select one of the 4 variations. Let's get this so you can hear it. All right. Let's try this one here. And so through tapping into the voices in this little organ that are layered in there, and then stacking them up in the recording software through the magic of multi-track recording, I end up with I can basically morph this organ into anything I need it to be. So as a recording tool, it really works very well, and that's why it's my main keyboard. So why don't we listen to a little bit of something I'm working on here. Let me get the mixer out of the way. So what do we have here? We have kind of a drone sound. So that's one of the sounds available on this instrument. So I've got my nice little soft accompaniment there. The melody is a different sound I tapped into. And then you'll hear a piano come in just a few beats here. There you can really hear how I'm using the echo effect to augment that sound, to make it more than it is all by itself. So let's isolate that piano, and we'll disable the effects, and you'll see what I do here. That's it. But then when we add our augmentations, as I like to call them, I can also use that same kind of process to create a rhythmic effect. And again, I've taken something that's actually very simple and augmented it to create a rhythmic feel that's not really otherwise possible. And I also do this same trick with pipe organ sounds. So to show you how my music gets put together inside the software, how I use effects augmentations on top of pipe organ sounds in order to create rhythmic layers and immersive sounds that are not otherwise possible. This is a track off of my second album, Time. It's called The Inescapable Past. And we can kind of see how I put the layers together and put the effects in. So we'll play a little bit of this first layer here. So if I take the effect out, let's see, okay. I'm really just playing this. Let me get so you can hear it. I'm really just playing this. But then when you add the timed echo, and the echo pulses are set to the beat of the music, and so it's clicking in time, it's repeating the notes in at a certain rhythmic pattern, and I'm playing in time with that, and then the cumulative effect and then you can start building up layers through the magic of multi-track recording. In a live performance, I can use looping to build these same effects, and I'll show you that in an upcoming video. And I like to use lots of reverb. So this is kind of my unique take on creating new music for the pipe organ. I'm using pipe organ emulation. I'm using digital effects processing. In live performances, I'm using looping. And that's going to be the basis for the music that we create for this big project that I'm lucky enough to receive a grant for. So once I have all of the music worked out in here at home in my own home studio setup, this particular project is going to be a collaboration with the Fresno Community Chorus under the direction of Anna Hamry, and soprano soloist Isabel Barakdarian is going to sing on this piece as well. So it's one thing for me to work off of my handwritten sketches like this. It's quite another thing to ask other people to do that. So the other piece of software I spend a lot of time at, this is an open source software called MuseScore, and basically it is like a word processor, except it's for writing down music, and you end up with a nice printed proper printed page that anybody can read. And so I'll have to create all of that. When I get the instrumental parts recorded here using pipe organ sounds, using piano sounds, and doing all of my augmentations with it, all of those recordings have to be taken over to Maximus Media, and we will upload it into their recording system, and then we'll bring in all the singers and add their parts into it, and then it'll be time for the final mix. The film portion of this project is being done in collaboration with CMAC. That's the Community Media Access Collaborative, nonprofit downtown, where basically anybody can go and learn how to make movies. And we're going to put this all together, and that'll be an exciting project when we get it all done. Next time, we're going to start taking a look at the equipment I use to reproduce this music live. So it's one thing for me to sit here and with unlimited tracks and unlimited access to unlimited voices and synthesizers and other instruments. It's quite another thing to sit down and perform it live. And so we'll take a look at how I consider the live performance when I'm creating the music, and how I'm set up to actually perform that music in public. So thanks for joining me today, and we will see you next time.